Hi, everyone. Welcome to the library this afternoon. We're pleased to have Brandon Swain here today as part of the library's What the Health series. Brandon is a public health educator with the Arkansas Department of Health in Hometown Health Improvement. He provides technical assistance, educational materials, and presentations throughout Northwest Arkansas. He has a bachelor's degree in pharmacological studies from Westminster College and a master's in public health from the University of Missouri. He's here today to teach us about QPR, question, persuade, and refer. 3 steps anyone can learn to help prevent suicide. Brandon, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? So like you said, my name is Brandon Swain. I work for the health department, and we're going to talk about suicide prevention, particularly with QPR, question, persuade, and refer. So just at the beginning, this is intended to be a form of, it's not intended to be a form of counseling or treatment. It's intended to provide hope and through positive action and allocation of resources. So we're going to look at some data to start with. Over the past 20 years, suicides have significantly increased. In 2004, there were about 32,000 in 2004, and then in 2021, that number jumped 16,000 to 48,000. And as you can tell by the graph, it continues to increase relatively each year. Looking at Arkansas specifically, the U.S. rate is 14.5, and Arkansas is 20.4, which puts them tied for 12th in suicide rate, and this is per 100,000 people. So Arkansas is above the U.S. rate and one of the top 15 states in the suicide rate. And this is as of 2021. So we're going to look at some suicide myths and facts. So myth, no one can stop a suicide, it is inevitable. That is a myth because if you provide them with the right resources and the right hope and the right information, they might not become suicidal again in the future. Asking a person about suicide will only make them angry and increase the risk of suicide. The fact is that asking someone directly about suicidal intent lowers anxiety, opens up communication, and lowers the risk of a suicide attempt. There's a myth that goes around generally that if you ask them directly about somebody about suicide, that increases the likelihood that they will, again, commit suicide. It's basically like you're planting a thought in their head, and that's a myth. I mean, if you had your wallet and I asked you to give me $100 and you didn't, I mean, I'm trying to plant that thought in your head and you didn't do it. So it kind of comes down to that. You can't place a thought that's not already there. And only experts can prevent suicide. Suicide prevention is everybody's business. Anyone can help prevent suicide. It's a tragedy when it happens, but anybody can play a role in that, whether it's a family member, loved one, coworker. And I'll go through the signs and symptoms to look for too later on. So another myth, people considering suicide keep their plans to themselves. The fact is that most suicidal people communicate their intent sometime during the week of preceding their attempt through some verbal, behavioral, or psychological clues that you can pick up on. Those who talk about suicide don't do it. Actually, people who talk about suicide may attempt an act of self-destruction. And once a person decides to attempt suicide, there's nothing anyone can do to stop them. Actually, suicide is the most preventable kind of death, and almost any positive action may save a life. So when it comes to the clues and warning signs, the greater number of clues that you observe, the more likely you are to help that person. But you should take every sign seriously, even if you think it's something minute or small, there can play a big role in the entire situation. Remember, these people are in pain, and they think the only way that they can get out of it is through death by suicide. They think that's their only solution to get through the pain. You need to provide them with hope. So some direct verbal clues, these are just quotes. I've decided to kill myself. I wish I were dead. I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to end it all. If such and such happens or doesn't happen, I'll kill myself. So those are pretty straightforward. If you hear somebody say that, you shouldn't take it lightly. You should definitely get them the help they need or provide them with the hope that they need in that moment. Some indirect verbal clues, these might not be as direct, but you might see them pop up and they could be clues to something bigger that they're looking at. So I'm tired of my life, I just can't go on. My family would be better off without me. Who cares if I'm dead anyways? I just want out. I won't be around much longer. And pretty soon you won't have to worry about me. Again, they are people that are in pain, they are hurting inside, and they think that their only way to get through that pain or to make lives better for people around them is to end their own lives. And that is not the best case scenario. Behavioral clues, obviously any previous suicide attempt is a behavioral clue. Acquiring a gun or stockpiling pills. And this is just kind of out of random. If somebody does something like this, you should definitely be aware of that. Occurring depression, moodiness, hopelessness, somebody that's just feeling very down. They don't see a lot of the light at the end of the tunnel kind of situation. Putting personal affairs in order can be making a will. If you're 20, I'm 26, and if I were to start making a will, it'd probably be very odd for me to start doing that. But if somebody were to notice that, they probably should make me aware of these signs. Giving away prized possessions. So if somebody thinks that they're not going to be around much longer, that they have like some memorabilia or something that has personal attachment to them, and they're just giving it away, not selling it, nothing like that, that can be a very giveaway sign that they are looking to do something or harm themselves. A sudden interest or disinterest in religion. Drug or alcohol abuse or relapse after a period of recovery. And unexplained anger, aggression, or irritability. So some situational clues, being fired or being expelled from school, a recent unwanted move from like house to house or city to city, loss of any major relationships such as a breakup, loss of a loved one or spouse, death of a spouse, child, or best friend, especially if it's by suicide, it can have a chain reaction. Diagnosis of a serious or terminal illness, sudden unexpected loss of freedom, or they might have fear of punishment. An anticipated loss of financial security, that can be a big one too. You can lose a lot of hope, a lot of optimism in life, and they can spiral out of control very quickly. And loss of a cherished therapist, counselor, teacher, friend, anybody that's close that had an impact on their life. If I'm going too fast, I can go back to if anybody's taking notes and everything. And fear of becoming a burden to others. So the biggest thing for asking the suicide question is I'll go through how to do that in just a minute, but is make sure you're in a private setting and give them the privacy they need. Privacy is a very rare commodity now with social media, with everything just being out in the public, and things are being recorded. People notice things, they put them on social media, or word spreads by word of mouth. But giving them a private setting where you can just listen to them and let them open up to you, that's the best thing that you can do. But yeah, just to let them talk freely and give yourself and them plenty of time. If they want to just vent for however long they need, just being there for them, that's the best thing that you can do. So we're gonna go through the Q of QPR, and this is the less direct approach. If you're not necessarily comfortable asking the suicide question directly from the get-go, or if you're wanting to get a feel of the situation, you're not sure exactly if your intuition or your instincts are correct, this could be an approach that you use to get a gauge of the situation. So you could ask them, have you been feeling unhappy lately? Or have you been feeling very unhappy lately? And have you been feeling so very unhappy that you've been thinking about ending your life? And do you ever wish you could go to sleep and never wake up? And if they answer any of these questions in a way that prompts you to want to ask further questions, you can go with a more direct approach then and say, when people are as upset as you seem to be, they sometimes wish they were dead. I'm wondering if you're feeling that way too. You look pretty miserable, upset. I'm wondering if you're thinking about suicide. And if they have directly and openly stated that they are thinking about that and you're unsure about what their mindset is, you can ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? And it's something that's not easy to do necessarily either. And if you can't ask the question, make sure you find somebody that can. Beating around the bush and not necessarily getting to the point will not get them the help that they need. So how to not ask the suicide question? Biggest thing with these is just to not provide judgment. Don't make them feel uncomfortable or feeling like you are judging them for the actions that they are thinking about taking. Getting to the truth and getting them to be honest with you will not be able to come from any of that if you are passing judgment on them, like calling them stupid for thinking that, or surely you're not thinking about suicide. Those kind of verbiage will not let them open up to you. You'll be they'll be closed off very quickly, and that won't help the situation or them in any way at all. So when it comes to persuading somebody, listening to them to the problem and giving them your full attention. Don't rush to judgment. Again, listening to them can be the biggest thing. Many of the people that are having these thoughts, they don't have the hope, they don't have somebody around them to talk to. And so if you're giving them that, just letting them let off steam or letting them vent, that can provide them with the quote-unquote medicine that they need in order to get through that. Again, offer any kind of hope in any way. And so when it comes to persuading somebody, you want to ask them if you can go to help, like a therapist or a counselor, and if they want you to go with them, or asking them what you can do to help and make them feel safe, feel comfortable. Anything you can do to listen and help rekindle the hope that they had, that'll make a difference in the long run. So lastly is refer. Suicidal people often believe they cannot be helped. Again, they think that their only solution to the situation is to end their own life, and they have no hope and they have no optimism for the situation. And they don't believe that anybody around them can help, whether it's a counselor, a friend, family member, teacher. They don't believe anybody can help them. So providing the hope through community, whether it's a pastor, priest, rabbi, counselor. I mean, you have to get creative sometimes because, I mean, in Arkansas, Fayetteville, not necessarily, but I cover 19 counties all the way over to Mountain Home, and some of them, they don't have the resources that we do in Northwest Arkansas. And so you have to get creative sometimes with how you're going to approach the situation, because you might not have the capability to say, okay, well, there's a counselor down the street that you can go to. And that's not always the case. So the best referral involves taking the person directly to someone who can help, going along with them, providing them with that hope through compassion and just being around them so that they can see that you're willing to stick by their side through that. The next best referral is getting a commitment from them to accept help and then making the arrangements to get the help. And lastly, the third best referral is to give referral information and try to get a good faith commitment not to attempt suicide. Any willingness to accept that can help at some time, even if the future is not, even in the future is a good outcome. So for effective QPR, you'll want to tell them, I want you to live, I'm on your side, trying to just be friendly with them and also provide them with the optimism again that they need. Just being around them can help in any way. And again, getting anybody involved, whether it's family members, friends, brothers and sisters, doctors. There's a lot of people that some people find a close relationship with, and you probably have many people that you know that are like, they will only listen to this one person if they tell them, but if you tell them something, then they're going to disregard your compliments completely. So if you know that person has that person they look up to, that role model, get them involved so that they can help with the situation. So you can join a team, you can follow up with a visit or a phone call, just do whatever makes you feel comfortable to help them, and in any way possible, this can just help somebody save their life in the ultimate end. And remember, when you apply QPR, you plant a seed of hope. Hope helps prevent suicide. That's the biggest thing you can do, honestly. Provide them with the resources they need, provide them with the hope that they are looking for, or they don't necessarily have in that situation. And that's my PowerPoint. Does anybody have any questions? On the back table, there are some booklets from QPR Institute that you can take, and there's also a resource guide with some national and state resources. Yeah, if you don't have any questions, that's all I got. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do now.
Thank you.
Thank you.